Hi everyone, my name is Sofia Garcia. I'm currently an instructor at TCU, but I was a founding faculty member at the Trinity River campus, and I'm super proud of that. I started my career with TCC in 2005, and I am a founder of the Latina STEM Fellowship.
Hello, my name is Elisa Lopez, and I'm an instructional associate for general biology at the Trinity River campus. I've been working for TCC since 2014, and I am the coordinator for Latina STEM Fellowship.
And hi, my name is Pedro Portillo, and I've been working here at TCC for 15 years. Currently, I serve as the interim executive director of community education and engagement, and our division helps to manage the funding sources for the Latina STEM Fellowship. So as we begin our conversation today about passion projects, I wanted to highlight the importance of a theoretical framework. So what is a theoretical framework, you may be asking? Well, it provides the structure that helps to support why a project is important. First, you have to do some research around your topic or area of interest. Let me share with you what the literature has to say about students of the Latina STEM Fellowship. So Laura Rendon coined the theory validation theory. And what she writes about is how it is crucial to provide these validating experiences for students, especially first generation students, because students can come to the campus suffering from the imposter syndrome, where they feel that they might not belong, or that they're not really a college student. And so providing these validating experiences, which can sound daunting, but are very easy. It could be a simple smile, it could be calling them out by name, a simple greeting, just making them feel welcome. Those are all validating experiences, and that can go a long way for students. Now, Terrell Strayhorn recently has been writing about sense of belonging. And when he talks about sense of belonging, he puts so much importance in it that he talks about it with Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and he puts it right at the foundation, saying that students really need to feel this sense of belonging in order for them to utilize campus resources. So while it's great that we have tutoring services, faculty office hours, you name it, if a student doesn't feel welcome or that they belong on campus, they're not going to utilize those services. And then I did some research on familismo, and that's what was the essence of my dissertation. And that really takes a sense of belonging to the next level, where it's creating this communal environment for students. So if you're not a first generation student yourself, or you don't identify with that, I think it's hard to wrap your mind around totally being alone or feeling alone on campus. But as a first generation student, typically you don't have conversations about college at home, and your parents might not come with you to family orientation and things like that. So when you come to campus, you truly are by yourself, or you have this feeling that you're alone. So finding community on campus is very important for these students, because once they find community, then they have a support group that they can lean on as they're going through this journey in higher ed. So these are the frameworks that ground the fellowship: to validate students, as Laura Rendon says, to make them feel welcome, as Terrell Strayhorn says, and then what I found was we want to make them active members of our community.
So I wanted to talk to you a little bit about how this passion project of mine came along, and how maybe you can apply this to your passion project. So just think of something that you're passionate about. For many of us here, maybe that's education. Maybe you have a personal passion for music or gardening or religion, spirituality. That might be your passion. But for me, it was science, it's education, and the community. And Trinity River campus really gave me the opportunity to grow as a professional, but also as a community member. And so when I first came here, I met Dr. Robert Munoz, and he quickly got me involved into the community at a level that I had never been involved in before, and was putting me on projects that were having to do with working with different students on their STEM skills. Some of these were elementary students, like I did College for Kids. Some of these were middle school students and high school students. I worked with Castleberry ISD. Some of these were special needs students that we had gotten grants to work with them through. But I started to notice that there was a need in the community. that I could apply my passions to the community to give back and pay forward all the things that I felt helped me to grow in my passion area. And so then I decided after a couple years that I really wanted to create a pipeline for young women who were interested in STEM, because I also did research. I wanted to look up and see, what the gap was for the area I was passionate about so that I could help to fill that gap and that need in our community. And I saw that there needed to be something to help women get into STEM degrees and in STEM careers. So that's why I wanted to create the fellowship, not just a camp, a one and done, although that's how we started, but a fellowship of young ladies who could be supported by their near peers, be supported by professionals, and help support one another through their journey. And then it was time to seek collaboration. So I couldn't just have this great idea all by myself. I had to go and ask others for help. So like I said before, Dr. Robert Munoz was my champion at first. He really helped me to figure out how I could make this idea of mine a reality. So go and seek your champions. Who can be somebody that maybe has a little more experience than you or a different experience than you that can help you to promote your idea. This was going to take funding, so something else I had to find were champions who are going to help advocate for this type of a program. So I went to our grants department and our donor relations department, met with Liz Sisk and talked to her about the program, showed her what we were already doing because we had gotten a grant to seed fund the program. And she was absolutely excited about it, and she was our champion. And when it came to going out to the community and finding money to support the program, and then your professional and community organizations. So I got tied in quickly with the Hispanic Women's Network, with Mana de Fort Worth, which is a mentoring program for young ladies in the community. And I started helping them out with their projects, and in turn, they would help me with mine. And it just became this collaborative family of people who had their own specialties, but all had the common goal of helping young ladies pursue college and advanced degrees and professional careers. So then once you have your passion project and you think about, okay, these are the things I'm passionate about, I think I can reach out to some people, but you want to have something written down. You want to say, I have a clear, maybe for you it's a vision, maybe it's a mission, maybe it's a set of goals, and that's your passion, and that can help you focus on what it is. But for me, it was a mission statement. So for us, it's to support young women interested in STEM through skill building, because we wanted to give them the actual tangible skills that would make them good scientists, good researchers, so that they could increase their confidence and also have something to put on their resume to say, look, I have done these things. I'm competitive for this internship. I'm competitive for this program or this advanced degree. Build their confidence that way. The girls get so excited every time we do something, and I tell them, okay, you're doing specific gravity tests. Make sure you write that down on your list of things that you know how to do, right? Your list of those on your resume. So they just smile and get excited. And like you will hear later, some of the girls say that their confidence got built through doing these camps and these activities. Career exploration. A lot of times you may see this too in your classes or in your circles, that there may be people that know about certain careers. They may see doctor, they may see nurse, they may see business person, but they don't know all of the different types of careers that they can go through in those fields. And so we want to expose them to, did you know that there was research on zebra mollusks? Did you know that citrus diseases are really important to study? I don't know why I keep telling you diseases because I'm a biologist, but all those kinds of careers. And then education planning. So this can be so overwhelming for anyone, even when you're not a first gen or somebody who doesn't know how to start an educational plan. So we sit down with the girls and we have them take the My Plan career assessment, and it usually pairs them with types of careers that match with their skill set and their likes. And from there, they can see what education a certain career takes, and then they can start planning. So we have them do an undergraduate degree plan and a graduate or professional school degree plan. And they have to write out all of the courses that they would take, and some of them are dual credit. So I'll try to give them some encouragement and say, okay, you've already taken some of these classes, so you can highlight them and say, these ones are already done. You're already making your way to that STEM career. And then mentorship. So with mentorship, it's not only getting mentored by the professionals, by myself and Elisa and Dr. Duarte, who also helps with the program, but mentorship by near peers. So whenever we take them on college campus visits, we will have people who are undergrads at the university meet with them during lunchtime and just talk about their experience. How did it feel moving away from home for the first time? How does it feel being a female in a certain STEM degree? And then mentorship with each other, so they're immediate peers. I remember the first time we were walking on TCU campus it was probably our third year of the fellowship, and one of the girls, who I believe was about a junior, was telling one of the freshmen, okay, I know you're just a freshman. She's like, but I remember that I used to think that first year wasn't so important, but it really is. So you got to start trying to make good grades right away. And Dr. Duarte and I just looked at each other and smiled. We're like, oh my gosh, they're doing it. They're mentoring each other. This is what we've been dreaming of, right? Creating this fellowship. So this mission statement really helps me that every time we're planning something, does it align with this mission? So for you and your purpose, does it align with your purpose? I went to a Blue Zones training on getting your purpose statement. And so something that I will share with you, and I have my purpose statement here with me, is you're looking at some of your gifts, right? And you get to choose from, they gave us a pile of cards, all these different gifts. And for my gifts, I chose managing and organizing, building relationships, helping others overcome obstacles, and empowering others. So the purpose statement was, with my gifts of, and you would fill in your own blanks. For me, that would be managing, organizing, building relationships, and helping others overcome obstacles. I am here to, what are you here to do? For me, empower others for the benefit of, and for me, it was young women in my community. And for you, maybe it's for the benefit of your health. Maybe it's for the benefit of your family. Maybe it's the benefit of your community. But that's a little bit about my mission statement and how that may apply to your purpose statement.
So how do we go from face-to-face to virtual? In the face-to-face format, the summer camp is usually held for 2 weeks, Monday through Thursday from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. This was advertised with flyers and posters placed around campus and on the TCC website, and emailing high school and 8th grade teachers and counselors from various school districts, including private and charter schools. Applications were made available online at the beginning of February with a deadline of submission set for May 1st. Then, as we all know, during spring break, we received news about school and college closings for the rest of the spring semester due to the pandemic. And then by early April, it was announced that TCC was going fully online for the summer. At that point, we knew that this was going to affect Latina STEM and other summer camps held at TCC campuses. Our team met with Dr. Munoz to discuss about having the camp go virtual and reduce the dates and time to 1 week, Monday through Friday, from 9 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. We laid out the plan to Liz Sisk from the TCC Foundation, who had inquired about where Latina STEM is heading with the camp due to the pandemic, and how the grant funding the program has will be used. Soon after approving the virtual format, we began to reach out to professional women working in STEM-related fields and young women currently in college pursuing STEM-based majors to be our virtual guests and facilitators during the week. We also planned out what lab activities the students will be doing at home, which included what lab supplies and school supplies were needed for each student. We wanted to continue to maintain a hands-on approach, just like they would be having as if they were in a lab room setting, but at home. While all the planning was going on, students were submitting their applications. In previous years, about 20 students would apply and be accepted. For this year, 27 students applied, but only 24 were accepted into the program. Even though the camp turned into a virtual format, we wanted to maintain involvement and interaction the students would have with us, the guests, and each other. In other words, a sense of community. For the students to have the hands-on experience at home like they would have in a lab room setting, 3 implementations were set in place. First, a supply pickup was scheduled on the Saturday before camp from 2 to 4 p.m. Parents and students came to the Trinity River campus at the Rotunda Circle Drive. A large sign was posted outside directing parents and students to remain in their car and have their mask on. 4 team members were in attendance, wearing masks and gloves. They would approach their car window at a safe distance to ask for the student's name and would then be given a lab safety sheet on a clipboard for both the parent and student to sign. Once the lab safety sheet was signed and collected, storage bins containing the supplies were placed in the trunk of their vehicles by the team members. Parents and students then drive off. A supply drop-off was scheduled on the Saturday after the camp from 2 to 4 p.m. with 3 members in attendance. Students and parents came back to campus, popped open their trunks for team members to pick up the supplies, and students were given their certificate of completion. Health safety measures were implemented in the same manner as the previous Saturday. Afterwards, we learned that if we were to do another supply pickup and drop off for next summer, to not schedule it during the hottest part of the day. The second implementation was the virtual camp. Shown here is the 2020 camp schedule, containing times blocked for group presentations, guest speakers, virtual tours, lab activities, and journal reflections. With the camp being synchronous, we were able to have students listen to guest speakers' presentations and participate in Q&As. Complete lab activities at home, guided by facilitators, and assign them in small groups by utilizing virtual breakout rooms to work on putting a presentation together based on the events from the previous day so that they could be presented to other students. During the lab activities, we asked the students to position their cameras over their lab work area so that we can see how they were doing, and this would encourage them to ask questions or ask for clarification about directions. We also photo documented throughout the day. For each group that was presenting, they used these photos as part of the presentation. Here is a sample of photos for each day. For day 1, we have a picture of Dr. Stewart, a professor of TCU who facilitated a biochemistry lab. And this was also part of her virtual tour of her lab where she works so that the students can see what a lab looks like. And then that way they can ask questions about her lab and her life experiences and how she became a professor and ended up in the career that she has. The next photo is as a student participating in the biochemistry lab activity. And so as you can see, the position of the camera is placed so that we can see what the students are doing. In that way, if any correction is needed, that we can tell them. For day 2, we had TCU medical students be a panel for our students. And this is where we utilize a breakout, a virtual room. Each medical student was in each group, and so they get to have the small closeness and one-on-one, almost like a one-on-one interaction, but with 4 to 5 girls in each group. And they get to talk about their backgrounds, and they talk about and how did they successfully ended up in medical school, and how they are doing as they are pursuing their medical license. The next photo is another lab activity in which students are looking at a dissected pig kidney, and Dr. Garcia and Miss Susanna Garcia helped out and facilitated this dissection activity, and students learned the different parts of the kidney and how the kidney functions as well. On day 3, Dr. Garcia facilitated a lab activity of urinalysis. They used simulated urine, so it's not the students' own urine that they were using, but they were using a simulated urine. So they learned how to detect pH, glucose, and proteins in this simulated urine. They also learned what specific gravity is by using a hydrometer, as seen in this photo by one of the students.
Okay, so I'm going to talk about the next day. We had them do a near peer activity. So we had 5 young women who were undergraduates in college, so they're near peers, not that much older than the girls in the camp. And of those 5, 3 of them were former Latina STEM Fellowship campies. And that was so exciting because it was coming not quite full circle, because these girls are not professionals yet. They are professional students and researchers already, but they came back and were so excited to meet with these girls who were where they were just a few years ago, and give them all this advice and tell them how excited they were to be in college. Amy is there in the middle. I'm going to talk about her a little bit later. She was in our first cohort, and she's now at Texas A&M University. And Kayla below, she's a student at TCU. We had a couple students from TCU, and then we had another student from the University of North Texas who was also part of Latina STEM Fellowship. These near peers shared with them, all of them had full rides to college one way or another. So they shared with the girls how they got their full rides, where to apply for those scholarships. And that was actually after the session, because the girls were asking the near peers these kinds of questions. They were telling them what they should do to prepare for college. They were telling them the best things about college and how they should study abroad and take advantage of the research opportunities. So for me, this was just such an exciting time, because you get to see the girls that have graduated from high school, are now an undergraduate, being successful, and the next big step for them is going to be hopefully going to grad school and then becoming, professional researchers. And so we're a work in progress. We've only been in existence. This is going on our 5th year. So we hope to see the girls continuing to make strides in their pipeline process.
And for the 4th day, we had women engineers from Lockheed Martin facilitate a lab activity in which the students get to make a mini robot. This mini robot consisted of using a toothbrush, coin battery, a motor, and LED flashing bulbs. The last implementation is journaling. During the last 30 minutes of each day, students were given journal prompts about the day's events. Students using metacognition to think and reflect on what they have learned. The prompts included what the students thought about the guests' experience and advice as they had pursued their education and careers in STEM-related fields. They also wrote about what they thought about the lab activities and the lab skills that they had acquired, and their overall experience during the week. So here are a few journal entries, and we wanted to highlight the students' thoughts that stood out. On the first day, before the day really got started for the camp, we had students write a reflection of what they hope and what are their expectations of Latina STEM Fellowship. So this student wrote that she hoped that it would be fun, engaging, and informative, and that she hoped to gain knowledge on more types of STEM careers, especially the ones that she has not previously considered. And that she also hoped to form new friendships and bonds with people that she meets in this program. And this was another part of Latina STEM Fellowship, is that we want the girls to form these bonds and to be able to connect with each other so that they kind of form a group of support as they're going through their years of high school and on to college. this journal reflection here is at the end of day 1 of the camp, and the student wrote that she didn't realize that being a scientist could be a lot more fun than what she had thought. And so this shows that by having an interaction with scientists such as Dr. Stewart and going on these virtual tours in her lab, that a STEM career can be very rewarding. And this journal reflection is from a student that was written on the very last day of camp. And the prompt was to have them write about what they had thought about the overall week of camp, and how much they have changed since day 1. So the student says that her confidence had changed compared to the very first day of camp, and that she had felt like becoming a female in STEM was more tangible due to the backgrounds that some of the girls came from and the skills which gave me a more competitive stance for future opportunities. And this was the goal that Latina STEM has always wanted to achieve, is that these girls would take away what they have experienced during the camp, and that we hope that this would inspire them as they go through high school and to continue on as they go through college.
So I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the alumni. This was a video that we had wanted to show before we knew that this format would not play sound on videos. But the young lady that you see at the podium there, that is Amy Trejo. She is the same young lady that I was pointing out to you previously on the near peers. And this was from our very first, you'll see how she is being there. She's really nervous. This was from our very first camp year. So in 2016, that summer, we did not have the formal end of camp celebration that we usually have. We kind of just said last minute, hey, let's get the girls together. And so we just have a few of them there. And I asked Amy as she was walking in the door if she would say a few words. And so none of this was scripted. And a mom that was sitting in one of the chairs took a video just on her own. But Amy gets really emotional, and she's talking about how these last 2 weeks have really impacted her. And she says, you know, she's like, I might not remember all the labs that we did. And then she looks at me and goes, okay, well, maybe I'll remember some of them. She's like, but mostly what I'm going to remember is how this camp made me feel. I'm sorry, I get emotional every time I see it. She says, I always felt like I was weird and different. She's like, people think I'm a woman, I'm less than, I'm a Latina, this is the things that I'm supposed to be doing. She's like, but what I gained most in this camp is that I can do anything, that no matter what, I can do anything. And she's like, so I'll always be appreciative of that. And Amy now, she is loving it at A&M. I don't even know that she considered going to A&M. I am an Aggie, so yes, we do try to brainwash the girls a little bit. But she's now working in a COVID lab, and she is so proud of the research that she's doing. I mean, she was telling the girls all about it, how she just feels so fulfilled by her work. And to see that this was her just a few years ago, I mean, I feel like the mission is being completed. I feel like my passion is being fulfilled and my purpose. And so when you decide what your passion is and what your purpose is, and you see it come to fruition, it's just life-changing. It's the definition of paying things forward and being fulfilled. So I'm sorry that you can't hear her speak, because she says it much better than I do. And we know that, seeing someone in their own words and hearing someone in their own words is going to be a lot more impactful, but that summarizes what she said.
Okay, so now I'm going to try to connect the dots a little bit for you. We talked at the beginning when we were talking about the theoretical framework about validation theory and how students need to feel validated. Rendon also mentioned that this can come from both informal and formal individuals. So the informal, we would consider, other students or their near peers, such as Amy, who is a returning student, and those other six individuals that were in that slide earlier, but also within the group, because I believe there's students that are freshmen and sophomore who are looking up to the juniors and seniors. And, when you're in high school and even younger than that, you always look up to your elders. So I think that's important as well, that they can see themselves and they see the things that they're doing, as well as the exemplars in the program. So it is so important for a student who has never considered, of even dreamed of being a doctor or a PhD or what have you, to come into this environment and then see somebody who looks like them that has those things, and it's like, wow, I can do that. So that speaks volumes of the impact that has on students.
I want to go ahead and say something there, Dr. Portillo. We did connect with TCU researchers in the College of Education and had them do some actual research on the camp. And I'll talk about some of it later, but this one works with the validation here of exemplars. So they were looking at, can a camp that's 2 weeks affect a young lady's perception of what it is to be a scientist or who is a scientist. So they did a pre-test with the girls, and it was, they showed the girls pictures of different people. I don't know if some of you here may have been some of those pictures, but they said, which of these people are scientists? And the girls were choosing young Asian males as scientists. After 2 weeks of the camp, they tested the girls again, and they found out that the girls were choosing young Latina females, because that was showing that they were seeing themselves as scientists now. They were changing the way they perceived themselves. And so that was huge, because it was research that was validated and showed that such a little time you can make such a huge impact.
Thank you, Dr. Garcia. So moving on to familismo, if you remember back to the quotes or the journal entries, one of the young ladies mentioned wanting to develop friendships and bonds, right? So I think bonds is the bigger word, because this is, creating a family is what you're getting here, or a fellowship, right? It's not a camp where you come 1 year and you never see these individuals again. No, this is a fellowship where students come year after year after year, and then once they graduate from the fellowship and they're up at university, they come back. So this is creating a family. And then another young lady mentioned the impact that she saw that she could have on the impact she could have on the community if she pursued one of these STEM fields. So that's one of the things that's being developed within this program. I wanted to share earlier when Elisa was talking about the drive up to pick up packets and to drop them off. So when I mentioned that students are returning, one thing is you see the growth, because there was one instance where a student drove up, or I thought was the parent drove up, and I was asking, well, where's the student? And the student was driving. And I remember from two years ago that this young girl was a freshman, so it's like they're growing right before us, now she has her driver's license and she was driving here for us. And then one thing that Dr. Garcia didn't mention here is that, so keeping with this idea of familismo, so how do you create a family environment for these students? Well, the easiest way is to involve the family, right? So when we have these orientations, they invite the parents to come in. Once this summer program turned into a year-long program, we started having programming throughout, once a month during the long term, and we had a session for parents, right? And one of these sessions was what to expect when you're expecting your daughter to go to college. And so we invited the parents of these first generation students to come in, and we sat them in a room and we had a conversation with them about going to school, right? And this kind of goes back to Laura Rendon's validation theory, because then what we did is we validated the parents' feelings. And how did we do that? So Dr. Garcia and I, both being first gen students, we went and interviewed our own parents. So I asked my parents, hey, Dad, Mom, what was y'all's feelings when y'all found out that I was going to go to college, or that I got accepted to college? And we asked Sophia's parents the same thing. And at first my dad was like, whatever, he didn't want to answer. But then when he got real honest, he was like, who was going to pay for this? That was his thought. It was, my mom gave the typical answer. I was so proud. But my dad was honest. how are we going to pay for this? So showing this video to those parents kind of validates that, oh, it's okay to feel that way. And it is. It's honest. You know, you have to be honest, but you got to start having those discussions. So that validated the parents. Now the parents were able to start having those discussions with their children. And again, this creates this family environment. Now everybody's coming, and you know, we're creating this sense of belonging. Additionally, this program also connects with Tarrant County College's two of the three goals. So the three goals that are of the university, it's the one college philosophy, the student ready college, and serving the community. So we absolutely tackle those last two goals.
Yeah, so when Dr. Portillo was talking about doing sessions throughout the year, that really came from the girls. We had the second summer camp and the girls were like, we don't want to stop seeing each other. Can't we keep seeing each other? And Dr. Duarte and I looked at each other and we're like, we have to figure this out. And so when we told Dr. Munoz we needed to have a year-round program, he said absolutely, and that's where Liz Sis came in. But it was the girls. They were the ones who wanted to keep seeing each other. So tips on pursuing your passion, write it down. You know, you're more likely to do it if you write it down. So even though you're not sure, maybe it's going to evolve and you can see where you started and then where you ended up. Do your research. What kind of programming is already out there? What kind of opportunities for you are already out there? Is it something that you want to take advantage of and do that already exists, or is it something that you want to create for yourself in a different way? And who may also want to help create that with you? Find champions and collaborators. That kind of flows into that. Who can champion for you, who can advocate for you, who can support you when you think maybe your idea seems impossible or is a no-go. Collaborators, so not only did I have champions, but I had collaborators, so working with grants, working with local universities, working with the community partners. Funding, so funding at first we got through the Texas Workforce Commission, so we got some government funding, we got some private grants. Are there people who may not necessarily give money but give of their time? So we have lots of people who charged us nothing to work with the girls, people who gave supplies and opportunities to the girls on their own dime. And then networking. So you have to take your idea, your passion out there if it's something that involves the community. So I had to do a lot of conferences and speeches and mentoring for other people's programs, so they would reciprocate and we became advocates for each other. Your network grows larger. The girls are part of the network now because we get more applications from our girls' friends, our girls' primas, their cousins, their sisters. We have had several people come to orientation and the sister or the cousin came with them who didn't apply, and then after orientation, like, can we apply? And it'll depend on how many seats we have available, but we're getting, the girls are becoming our network now, and then when they become professionals, we're gonna have an even larger network. So what is your network? This is a picture of all the girls from the camp this year. They did their presentations. They did such a good job. For some of them, it was the first time they've ever presented. And we sent those out to some of our community members and to the people who help sponsor the girls. This program is sponsored by Lockheed Martin currently. And I want to give a special thank you. I can't see everybody here, but I see Dr. Candace Torres. She's here, and she has helped us with the camp several years. Yolanda Fansler has helped us. So thank you all so much.
Okay, so while you gather your thoughts, everybody, one, thank you for attending our session. I did post in the chat a form that you can click on, and I think is to provide an evaluation for this session. I think it's also a part of you receiving professional development for attending. And if you do have questions, I mean, feel free to, either utilize the chat feature, or you can unmute yourself at this point.
Janetti may be hitting you up soon to come and do a project with the girls.
I would love to. That would be awesome.
Sophia, you didn't mention the email you got last night.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I had it in mind while you were speaking, but we were going over some last minute thoughts for the presentation today, and I literally had a student email me on my TCC email from the second cohort, and she was a student who came from out of state to participate, and just out of the blue, haven't talked to her since, and she's like, I participated in the camp in 2016. She's like, and I remember there was a DO there who spoke to us. She's like, and it inspired me, and now I'm going to be applying for medical school. And I asked her, can you tell me more about what you've been doing? And she's been doing all this amazing stuff since. And she's been working for a forensics lab or something like that. And so she's ready to apply for medical school. So, and she said she was inspired by the DO she heard speak all those years ago.